Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me today for part two of this two-part video on getting unstuck, starting to progress again, and starting to enjoy the guitar just like you did when you started playing. If you haven't not watched part one, I highly recommend you do. I'm going to leave a little link below so that you can check out part one. And if you have, great. Now you know what we're talking about. In part one, we talked about the problem that every guitar player faces at some point or another, and oftentimes we face it multiple times. It's those periods of times that can last anywhere from sometimes a few days up to a few years. I've had a few years of that in the past where we feel that we no longer progress no matter what we do. We try to get better, but we just can't seem to get back to those early days when we first pick up the guitar. Typically the progress is quite fast, and then we just can't get back to that. Start feeling bored with our playing, and no matter how hard we try, no matter how many licks we try to memorize to get out of it, or lessons or whatever, it just doesn't work. So the reason why most get stuck and have a really hard time getting back into it is that music is not the type of thing that you can approach like more of a scholar subject, things that you learn in school, like mathematics, something like that. It's not a straight line progression. So if we think about music, there are multiple things involved in playing, but we can break it down into three different things. We can break it down into technique, which is anything having to do with actually handling the guitar, touching the guitar, playing the guitar. There is theory. So what I mean by theory is anything that has to do with your mind, understanding of what's going on. And what I'll call creativity, which is what makes you play, speak, talk, walk the way you do. We all have our uniqueness. And really, we can break it down into three fundamental ideas that we have within us: body, mind, and soul. Body will be technique. So in the world of guitar playing, that'll be anything, like I said, touching the guitar, that's body. Mind is understanding of what's going on. And soul is that extra thing that makes it personal. So whenever you want to get unstuck, whenever you want to start progressing again, you want to involve all of those three things at the same time. Anytime you're working on something, you can't just focus on technique and not worry about mind and soul. You have to have all three together. So today I'm going to show you how that works. So let's say that your guitar time is primarily playing these kind of exercises, you know, the ones that we probably all have our own variations, but something like that. I'll start on the 5th fret here, low E string, something similar to this, right? And that's your guitar time. You know, you pick up your guitar and then you do that. So if that's what you're focusing on, mindless kind of exercise, you might do it in front of the TV on the couch or something like that. Bad idea, because automatically, if you're playing in front of the TV with distractions, your mind and your soul is directed towards that thing that is demanding your attention, the TV. Your body's involved, but it's kind of mindless. Heard that term, mindless playing, noodling. That's what the first step. Really be in a place where you're able to engage all of those three components: body, mind, soul. So let's say that you're in that place and you have that exercise that you're doing. Great, the body's involved, doing it. How do you involve your mind and your soul into this? Let's start with the mind. The first thing is to actually look at your guitar. You know, your eyes are kind of the windows to your soul. You've heard that. Windows to your mind too. It kind of helps you absorb the information. So that's the first thing. We're going to look at what we're doing here. And in this exercise, I am having 4 notes per string. Okay, that's a piece of information that I'm entering in my mind. 4 notes per string. I'm playing everything in the zone of the fretboard here. It's kind of a narrow area of the fretboard. So that's something that I'm reasoning. I'm reasoning inside, okay, narrow area of the fretboard. within that space, let's say that we're playing here between frets 5 and 8. What else can I fit? Well, I could fit, I don't know, chords. Multiple chords I could fit there. Scales, maybe the minor pentatonic scale. Oh, that's a good one. I could fit the minor pentatonic. See, I'm reasoning now. I'm starting to think about those things. I'm making connections with other things. That's my mind working on this thing. So now the body and the mind are both involved in that thing, right? Because we are playing it and we're thinking about it, trying to make connections. The mind's involved. I might say, okay, so if I have these two pieces that are kind of similar, this exercise seems to kind of fit that minor pentatonic scale, right? But not quite. There are some notes that I'm adding to that pentatonic scale. All right, I'm adding notes. Like if I start the exercise 5, 6, 7, 8, and I start my pentatonic scale 5, 8, they both start and end on the same note. So I could say, you know, my mind is going to take me places here. I could say that the starting point of the exercise is kind of like filling in the empty notes between the minor pentatonic scale. That gives me another idea. What if I took this, the idea that this is actually filling in pieces of the scale, and applied it to the actual scale, the scale being 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 8. What if I filled in all the blanks here, all the empty notes? Okay, it could be something like this. So from 5 to 7, now I can fill in the blanks. Okay, great. All of that thought process happened because my mind was involved. So now I took something mindless and added the mind to it. I transformed it into something that kind of makes sense, that is a little logical to me. Now we need that third piece, which is the soul, which is what differentiates one person saying the same exact sentence from the other, but there's something different. You can recognize your good friend amongst 1,000 people. Even if they all say the same exact thing, you will recognize him. That's the piece that is missing. That's that third component. How do we do that? Well, we can make ourselves little exercises. Maybe I'll start playing that scale, so that's the body involved, with the mind, because now I'm no longer playing just the standard exercise. I'm playing something kind of new that came from my mind. And I'm going to play it as me, David Wallerman, who I'm going to act out something just to help me in that creativity. I'm going to act it as if something really sad happened to me and I lost my most precious thing. So I might play it a little differently, right? So I'm going to breathe in, just really breathe and try to put yourself in that mindset, soul set. So I'm playing a little softer. And I can't quite reach it because it's a hard emotional thing to go through. And I'm really focusing on that emotion that I have. The soul's engaged. Doesn't have to be perfect, but by doing this, that very last piece of the exercise, I combine all three components together. The technique, the theory, the creativity. In other words, the body that's playing, the mind, which allows me to do something a little different, and the soul. I'm not playing it very mechanically. Now, this could be done with absolutely anything, whether it's an exercise like this, or maybe it's a lick, or maybe it's a piece of a song that you're learning. Anytime you pick up the guitar, you have to involve these three pieces. If you only focus on one, you're going to increase one level of thing, but what's happening is that as you are increasing, say, your technique, your body, the others, if they're not used, they kind of lose, and the gap creates huge. The gap is bigger and bigger, and what you can hear it. You can hear players who have a big gap between maybe the technique and their creativity. A prime example of that happened back in the early 2000s when the game Guitar Hero came out. a lot of players were introduced to guitar, but they were introduced to guitar with the game through the lens of the body. And that explains it. So they focus on the guitar. Those games focus on the technique only. There's no creativity. There's no mind. It's just creativity. And that actually created a whole lot of really young guitar players who got really, really, really good at technique. They started by playing the game and then they graduated to guitar, but they approached the guitar just like the game. And so their body, their technique was 100% focused on it, like the video game. And they never really knew how to approach it with the mind and the soul. And so they have very little understanding of how the guitar works, how music works, theory and all that. They don't really have much soul in their playing. They're excellent technicians, but when it comes to playing something like the blues, they have no real heart in it. And that explains why. And so when we guitar players who approach guitar because of the love of the instrument, music, and what it can do, when we feel stuck, we try to take advice from what we perceive as really great players, but a lot of those players have focused just on one thing, and that's what creates problems. Like I said, there's a big gap that starts to create itself if you just work on one thing, and this will really help you whenever you pick up the guitar. Just thinking through it is enough. So I hope this series has been helpful. It's been really helpful. It's simple, but I promise that if you approach it that way, anytime you pick up the guitar, you are going to start enjoying the process more, and you're going to start progressing, and your playing is going to be changed. It's going to sound different. You're going to be more in control, and you're going to discover new things about the guitar, music, and yourself as you approach it that way. Enjoy the ride. It's a really fun one. And last but not least, we're in the final days of the open enrollments for Primal Guitar. Very limited seats because the whole program is 12 weeks, and I walk you through the program. Now, these classes are not live. You don't have to attend live because I know that people are all around the world. They have their own schedule. But every Monday, I'm sending you a series of pre-recorded videos that I record for you. You learn them, you study them, go through the exercises, and we discuss them in a forum. You can send me videos, you'll get feedback, and I'm also including some very valuable bonuses this time around. So check it out. There's a link below. Don't miss out. If the link brings you to a page that doesn't show anything, it means that I'm sold out. I really do have limited seats. I have a handful left right now. Check it out. Thanks for watching this. Hope it was useful. Practice well, and just remember, whenever you play, body, mind, soul. I'll see you next time.